Thomas Jennings was the first African-American person to receive a patent in the United States, paving the way for future inventors of color to gain exclusive rights to their inventions. Born in 1791, Jennings lived and worked in New York City as a tailor and dry cleaner. He invented an early morning of dry cleaning and dry scoring and patented in 1821. People objected to an African American receiving a patent, but Jennings had a loophole. He was a free man. At the time, U.S. patent laws said the slave master is the owner of the fruit of labor of the slave, both manual and intellectual, meaning slaves could not legally own their own ideas or inventions. Several decades later, Congress extended patent rights to all African American individuals, both slaves and freedmen. Jennings eventually used the money from his inventions to free the rest of his family and donate to abolitionist causes. Born Sarah Breedlove in 1867, Madam C.J. Walkers is often referred to as America's first self-made female millionaire. Her early life was filled with hardships, and at the age of 20 years, she was both an orphan and a widow. Breedlove's fortunes changed after she moved to St. Louis, where her brothers worked as barbers. She suffered from hair loss and experimented with various products, including hair care recipe developed by an African-American businesswoman named Annie Malone. Breedlove became a sales representative for Malone and relocated to Denver, where she also married her husband, Charles Joseph Walker. Soon after, she began selling her own hair-growing formula developed specifically for African-American women. Breedlove renamed herself Madam C.J. Walker, heavily promoted the product, and established beauty schools, salons, and training facilities across America. She died a famous millionaire and is today considered to be one of the founders of African-American hair care and cosmetics industry. The ironing board is a product that is used possibly just as much as it is overlooked. In the late 19th century, it was improved upon by Sarah Boone, an African-American woman who was born a slave, one of the first Black American women in U.S. history to receive a patent. She expanded upon the original ironing board, which was essentially an horizontal wooden block originally patented in 1858. With Boone's 1892 additions, the board featured a narrower and a curved design, making it easier to iron garments, particularly women's clothing. Boone's design would morph into modern ironing board that we use today. With only an elementary school education, a Black inventor, and a son of a slave, Garrett Morgan held patent on two of today's most important devices, the gas mask and the traffic signal. His technical and problem-solving skills propelled him to success. At the beginning of his career as an entrepreneur and inventor, Morgan created the first chemical hair straightener product, ultimately launching his own business, G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Company. Along with that success, Morgan also started a sewing machine repair company and a newspaper, the Cleveland Call. However, it was until 1914 that Morgan's most established achievement came into play, patenting a breathing device, the first ever gas mask. 2 years later, Morgan and his brother donned the device after a natural gas explosion under Lake Erie and saved the lives of 2 workers. But Morgan wasn't finished saving lives. After witnessing a terrible car accident, the inventor decided that roads needed a device to determine when cars and pedestrians had the right of way. His solution was the traffic signal, which he patented in 1923. The use of elevators in everyday life keeps people from committing to long and grueling climbs up several flights of stairs. However, before the creation of elevator doors that close automatically, Riding a lift was both complicated and risky. Before automatic doors, people had to manually shut both the shaft and elevator doors before riding. Forgetting to do so led to multiple accidents as people fell down elevator shafts. When the daughter of African-American inventor Alexander Miles almost fatally fell down the shaft, he took it upon himself to develop a solution. In 1897, he took out a patent for a mechanism that automatically opens and closes elevator shaft doors, and his designs are largely reflected in elevator use today. Businessman and inventor Alfred L. Crowell was born in 1866 in Virginia, shortly after the end of the American Civil War. Growing up, Crowell worked for his father in the carpentry trade, during which he became interested in mechanics. He was later sent to Washington, D.C. to study at the Wayland Seminary, a school for recently freed African Americans founded by American Baptist Home Mission Society. After a few years at school, Crowell moved to Pittsburgh, where he worked as a porter in a drugstore and a clerk in a hotel. While at the hotel, Crowell noticed ice cream servers had difficulty scooping ice cream. Influenced by this challenge, Crowell came up with the ice cream molder and disher, which was designed to keep ice cream and other food items from sticking. He patented his idea in 1897, and the invention spread like wildfire. Unfortunately, Crowell's name was rarely associated with the device, which began popping up across the United States. Crowell died from tuberculosis on May 6, 1919. He was 52. In 1891, anyone interested in mailing a letter would have to make the long trip to the post office. Philip Downing designed a metal box with 4 legs, which he patented in October 27, 1891. He called his device a street letterbox, and it is the predecessor of today's mailbox. It would protect mail from theft and poor weather conditions and expand the postal system, allowing people to mail letters without having to walk to the post office. Born in August 1946, Shirley Ann Jackson is a physicist, researcher, and inventor. She was the first African-American woman to earn a PhD from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. Curious as a child, Jackson grew up with an incredible interest in science and maths, conducting experiments with her father, and eventually graduating as a valedictorian from a 1964 class at Roosevelt High School in Washington, D.C. After graduating MIT with a PhD in theoretical solid-state physics, Jackson worked for AT&T Bell Laboratories. During a time at Bell, Jackson conducted breakthrough research that enabled the later inventions of the touch-tone phone, caller ID, and...
Benjamin Banneker was a free African-American almanac author, surveyor, landowner, and farmer with a background in arithmetic and natural history. He was self-taught and had little or no official schooling when he was born in Baltimore County, Maryland, to a free African-American lady and a former slave. He rose to prominence after aiding Major Andrew Ellicott in a survey that determined the initial boundaries of the area of Columbia, the United States Federal Capital District. Banneker's astronomical skills aided him in writing a commercially successful series of almanacs. He communicated with Thomas Jefferson on slavery and racial equality, as Jefferson had authored the United States Declaration of Independence earlier in his life. Banneker's writings were pushed and appreciated by abolitionists and campaigners for racial equality. Despite the fact that much of Banneker's documents and possessions were lost in a fire on the day of his funeral, one of his diaries and many of his remaining items are currently accessible for public inspection. Parks, schools, and streets, as well as other tributes, bear his works' names. Many Elijah J. McCoy was a Canadian-born African-American inventor and engineer who was most known for his 57 U.S. patents, the majority of which were with steam engine lubrication. He was born free in Canada and moved to the United States as a small boy when his family returned in 1847, becoming a permanent resident and citizen of the United States. Due to the 1850 Common Schools Act, which separated Upper Canadian schools in Scotland, Elijah McCoy was educated in black schools in Colchester Township. Elijah McCoy was transferred to Scotland at the age of 15 in 1859. After a few years, he was qualified as a mechanical engineer in Scotland. The George McCoy family had established themselves on the property of John and Mary Ann Starkweather in Ypsilanti by the time he returned. George established a tobacco and cigar company using his abilities as a tobacconist. When Elijah McCoy arrived in Michigan, he could only find work with the Michigan Central Railroad as a fireman and oiler. McCoy also conducted more highly skilled labor in a home-based machine shop in Ypsilanti, Michigan, such as designing improvements and inventions. In 1872, he patented improvement in lubricators for steam engines, an automated lubricator for oiling locomotives and ships' steam engines. Emerson, Janet Rita Bashan is an American entrepreneur, business consultant, and software inventor best known for patenting LinkedIn, a web-based equal employment opportunity software program that aids in equal employment opportunity investigations and claims tracking. Bashan is widely recognized as the first African American woman to be granted a patent for web-based software. Bashan is considered as a social justice champion as a consequence of her work with equal employment opportunity, diversity, and inclusion. Bashan was born in Huntsville, Alabama, and attended Alabama A&M University, a historically black college and university. She did not complete her education and instead married her classmate, Rufus Williams, an aerospace engineer, and relocated to Houston, Texas. Emerson studied legal studies and government at the University of Houston and finished with a bachelor's degree. In 1988, Williams and Emerson divorced. And in May 1988, she married George Stephen Bashan. Janet Bashan then went on to Harvard University, where she completed the Women in Power program. If you ever owned the original IBM personal computer, you can partially credit its existence to Mark E. Dean, who was born in 1957. The computer scientist and engineer worked for IBM, where he led the team that designed the ISA bus, the hardware interface that allows multiple devices like printers, modems, and keyboards to be plugged into a computer. This innovation helped pave the way for the personal computer's use in office and business settings. Dean also helped develop the first color computer monitor, and in 1999 he led the team of programmers that created the world's first gigahertz chip. Today, the computer scientist holds 3 of the company's original 9 patents, and more than 20 overall. Dean was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 1997. Dean, who earned a doctorate at Stanford University, is a CO inventor of IBM's original personal computer and the PC color monitor, literally changing how we all interact with the Internet. Marie Van Britten Brown was a nurse and an inventor who lived from October 30th. Marie Van Britten Brown was a nurse and an inventor who lived from October 30th. Marie Van Britten Brown was a nurse and an inventor who lived from October 30th, 1922 until February 2, 1999. She and her husband, an electronics specialist, Albert Brown, created a video home security system in 1966. They sought for a patent for their revolutionary security system the same year, and it was awarded in 1969. Brown was born in Queens, New York, and died there in 1999 at the age of 76. She created the first home security system as a result of the long time it took the police to reach in her neighborhood. William Kamkwamba is a Malawian inventor, engineer, and author who was born on August 5, 1987. In 2001, he made headlines in his home nation when he used blue gum trees, bicycle parts, and scrap metal from a local scrapyard to build a wind turbine to power several electrical appliances in his family's home in Wimbe, 32 kilometers, 20 miles, east of Kazhingu. Since then, he has constructed a solar-powered water pump that provides the village with its first source of drinking water, as well as 2 other wind turbines, the tallest of which stands at 12 meters, 39 feet, and is planning 2 more, one of which will be located in Lilongwe, Malawi's political capital. Kamkwamba was born into a low-income family who relied heavily on farming to make ends meet. He loved utilizing recycled items to play with his buddies Gilbert and Jeffrey. A crippling famine forced Kamkwamba to drop out of school, and he was not able to return to school because his family was unable to afford the tuition. In a desperate attempt to retain his education, Kamkwamba began to frequent the local school library. There he found his passion for electronics. He had previously started a modest company fixing radios in his town, but the work did not pay well. He decided to build a homemade wind turbine after reading the book Using Energy. He built a tiny model with a cheap dynamo and ultimately built a working wind turbine that powered some of his family's electrical equipment. On Hacktivate, Kamkwamba wrote a blog about his achievements, and in August 2009, he attended the inaugural Maker Faire Africa in Ghana, which celebrated his unique brand of inventiveness. When the Daily Times in Blantyre, Malawi's commercial center, published an article on Kamkwamba's wind turbine in November 2006, it went viral on the internet, prompting TED conference director Emeka Okafor to ask Kamkwamba to speak at TED Global 2007 in Arusha, Tanzania. His speech in Lilongwe, he enrolled in African Bible College Christian Academy. He subsequently moved on to Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire, where he received a scholarship to the African Leadership Academy and graduated in 2014.
During World War II, from portable X-ray machines to engines, Jones ended up patenting more than 60 ideas before his death in 1961. After his father left, Latima helped support his mother and family, lying about his age to enlist at 16 years old in the Navy during the American Civil War. After he was honorably discharged, Latima worked as a draftsman at a patent firm where he not only learned mechanical drawing, but worked closely with Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell. Latima worked with Bell directly to help create the telephone, and he became an indispensable member of Edison's team in the creation of light bulb. Latima came up with his own inventions such as an improved bathroom in railroad cars and an early air conditioning unit. A botanist, environmentalist, inventor, teacher, and celebrity, George Washington Carver is one of the most well-known African-American inventors of his time. Growing up, he often switched schools and lived with different foster families throughout the South, eventually earning his diploma at Minneapolis High School. Shortly after, he became a farmer until he went back to school. In 1891, Carver was the first black student at Iowa State Agricultural College, where he received both his bachelor's and master's degrees. He helped the poor agrarians by teaching them about fertilization and crop rotation, And since the region's primary crop was cotton, which drains nutrients from the soil, Carver conducted studies to determine which crops naturally thrived in the region. Carver also used peanuts to create more than 300 products ranging from laundry soaps to plastics and diesel fuel. Are there other African American inventions you know of? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, don't hesitate to like and share with your friends. You can also subscribe to our channel to receive the latest videos as they drop.